You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Süper var. Süper'e doğru attı. Kaybetti. Süper topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol. Gol. Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
And welcome back, everybody. Episode 211 of the Black Eagles podcast, and I am your host. Right, Sinan Sporting back once again to talk Beşiktaş, because why not, right? Still right in the swing of things as far as this season goes. And so obviously we're here to talk about our 20th match of the season against none other than Rizespor. Rize is a side that has struggled, of course, for much of the season. Though, as I mentioned at the end of last episode, they're sort of on the rise. You know, in theory, they're starting to get results coming into this match. They were really struggling at the bottom of the relegation zone for much of the season, and they sort of scrambled their way back into competing for perhaps a way out. But so for Rizespor, just to recap, if you will, we can talk about their last 5 results. It starts I guess let's go back to the cup, where they had a surprise exit against Ankara'spor, followed it up by losing to Fener in Istanbul. But then they hosted Göztepe 3-1. Hosted Yeni Malatya 1-0. Fought off Sivas on the road 1-1. You know, so 3 matches in a row undefeated, and then they lost at home to Gaziantep, which is obviously a negative swing for them there.
Operation is in effect as of right now.
But so, you know, still for a team that was really struggling for much of the season, they seem to have found their footing to some degree, at least vis-a-vis results. I guess let's just dive in, right? Let's talk about the lineups. Let's just dive all the way in, if you will. I guess no. One thing I can do is our little head-to-head. We've got only 19 matches against them in my app's history. But we've won 13 of those matches, drawn 5, and only lost once. So this is a competition that has completely swung our way as far as these two teams, Beşiktaş and Rizespor, in recent history. But as we all know, this is football. Anything can happen, and this season, especially with the Turkish Super League, chaos is in full control of the steering wheel at this point. But so yeah, let's dive in. Lineups. First of all, for Beşiktaş, Ersin Destanoğlu. Now it's worth noting we had 7 players out with COVID and 5 injured. If you want a list, Hasic injured, Nkudu injured, Mert Günok injured. Rashid Ghazal is actually suspended, but also he's out with COVID. So I'm only getting 3 injuries here, but perhaps there are more. So Rashid Ghazal suspended, but with COVID. Salih Uçan, COVID. Ozan, COVID. Pjanic, COVID. Mehmet Topal, COVID. Kenan Karaman, COVID. Kyle Larin, COVID. Can Bozdoğan, COVID. Okay, so I've got here 8 guys with COVID now. As for Rizespor, Loic Remy is out with COVID. Yannick Bolasie is out for a few days for personal reasons, whatever that means. But he was listed in the injured group as well. So for Beşiktaş, 8 guys out with COVID, 3 guys officially listed as injured. I don't really know what to say about that. I had it as 7 and 5 initially. I don't know. where that was off or whatever, but you get the point. What this means is that Beşiktaş was going to have to do things differently. There are no wingers available to this team, with the exception of Gökhan Töre, who's kind of back from injury though, so you probably wouldn't want to start him and risk re-injuring him like that. Güven Yalçın, sort of a winger, not really a winger to begin with. Beyond that, couple left backs, right? Perhaps you could convert one to winger. There's Emirhan İlkan, who of course debuted in our last match. We talked about him a bit in the last episode. He played on the wing, although he's actually a central midfielder by trade. So, gonna be weird for sure. And sure enough it was. We played a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-5-2, depending on how you viewed it. On the back line, Montero, Vida, and Wellington in front of Ersin. In our midfield, Joseph de Souza and Necip Uysal. I guess let's say with Emirhan İlkan, three central midfielders, with Emirhan kind of more an attacking midfielder role. Valentin Hozier as the right wing back, Meraş as the left wing back. And then up front, Güven Yalçın alongside Mishi Ba Chuwai. Worth noting, our manager, Önder Karaveli, was also out with COVID. In charge would be Halim Okta, who I believe has been in charge of our under-19s or something since Önder Karaveli got the call up. Quite a interesting situation there. Additionally, I feel like I didn't mention Alex Teixeira in my list of guys with COVID, and he's definitely a guy who has COVID, so that's where he was. So yeah, it was interesting to say the least. Meanwhile, for Rizespor, 27-year-old Turkish goalkeeper Gökhan Akan started for them, behind Selim Ay, 30-year-old Turk, and of course Sebastian Holmen, 29-year-old Swede. Cemali Sertel, 22-year-old left back, played opposite Gökhan Gönül, 37-year-old right back. In the center of their midfield would be, what was his name? Baiano. I'm forgetting his name suddenly. He goes by his first name. Was it Fernando? Fabricio, that's what it was. Fabricio Baiano. Next to Damjan Djokovic, Croatian, 31-year-old. And of course, Fernando Boldrin, kind of up in front of them. On their wings, Aminu Umar, 26-year-old Nigerian. Next to, opposite Tyler Boyd, 27-year-old American, who many of us will recognize. And then of course, up top, Joel Poyanpalo, 27-year-old Finnish striker, who I kind of made note of in my group chat, like right before the match. I said, we better watch out for that Finnish striker. And that would be foreshadowing, if you will. Meanwhile, let's dive all the way in, shall we? So first minute of the match, Emirhan gets the ball in the box in the air, heads it out, drops to Ba Chuwai, who sends it in on a volley very nicely. Saved, however, by Gökhan Akan, and saved well. But so yeah, Mishi Ba Chuwai with his sort of weekly early chance that doesn't quite work out somehow. 8th minute, Necip sends in a cross, finds Emirhan, the kid, who heads it onto the post, the crossbar. And again, close to that first goal. 12th minute, Ba Chuwai finds Güven Yalçın nicely with a sort of slick pass from the wing. Güven Yalçın then sends it forward perfectly for a little 1-2. Back to Ba Chuwai, who sends in a shot. And it's saved again by Gökhan Akan, and well, for that matter. And it's twice. Gökhan Akan has 2 good saves against Ba Chuwai now. So for all the criticism that Ba Chuwai is likely to get for this match, it's worth noting that he could have had 2 goals against a lesser keeper right there. 17th minute, Gökhan Gönül gets himself a yellow card. Interestingly. Come back to that later. And then in the 23rd minute, handball. I think it was Fabrizio or Fernando Boldrin. I think it was Fabrizio who touches it with his hand. Kind of in an unnatural position, or enough so that it's called. Ba Chuwai steps up, sends it hard to the left. Keeper goes the right way, Gökhan Khan, almost preventing Ba Chuwai again from scoring. However, not enough, because this time the shot was too well placed. Ba Chuwai with his 7th goal of the season, and Beşiktaş is up 1-0. How about that, folks, huh? And things would look good for the rest of that first half, too. 31st minute, Emirhan finds Ba Chuwai nicely. And Ba Chuwai volleys it, kind of zings it with the outside of his foot, sends it just wide. This poor guy seems so close, so often. And finally, in the 32nd minute, Rize has a chance, their only chance of the first half, of note anyhow. Poyan Pablo sends in a shot low to the right, sending Ersin down, diving for one-handed save, keeping us ahead, and you like to see it. Looking like we're going to get another good match out of him. Stick a feather in that one too. And that would be it for the first half as far as notable highlights. Second half, Selim I sends the ball sort of haphazardly forward. Emirhan cuts it out, finds Ba Chuwai perfectly, and Ba Chuwai pretty much one-on-one skies it mysteriously. This time his worst effort of the match. He finally has like an easy out against Gökhan Khan, and he flubs it. Whatever, it is what it is. Domagoj Vida gets a yellow card in the 55th minute on this play. Or on a play, rather, that sets up a free kick. Not on this play, but on the play that sets up this play. And on the free kick, it gets sent forward, up in the air, and drops into right in front of the goal, where Joel Poyan Palo quite clearly shoves Joseph de Souza, who falls into both Necip, Domagoj Vida, and Ersin, who's come out of the goal to try to punch it out, knocking them all over, and having the ball just calmly fall right to Joel Poyan Palo, who's in a ton of space, naturally, because he created that space by shoving our player into the rest of our players back there. And it's an easy goal for him that's not even reviewed, mysteriously. And we're level. Again, terrible refereeing. What can you do? Apparently not much. But just 4 minutes later, in the 59th minute, Guven, advancing the ball up the right side, gets behind the defense, sends it back in towards the box to Emirhan Ilkan, who slams it perfectly into the top of the net. I mean, in a just lovely finish. His first goal in a competitive match. And a beauty of a goal to match. You gotta say. And so Emirhan lifts our spirits right up in a match which we've clearly deserved to be ahead of. As far as chances, you know, I mentioned the highlights. They're all going our way except for basically their goal and then the save at the end of the first half. But so yeah, we're back up on the road, 1-2. 62nd minute, Guven Yalcin gets the ball. Nice pass. I think it was from Batsman, Ba Chuwai. And then he does the rest himself. He cuts it back, losing his defender. I believe it was Selim I. And so it's him one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and not enough. Poor shot, weak, easy to save for Gökhan Khan, who's bailed out. And we're still just ahead by a goal. And of course, it would come back to hurt us, as in the 67th minute, and again on a set piece, this time a corner. The ball comes in, Maybe it was a free kick. Whatever, I don't even care. It doesn't matter. I guess right before this we have subs. Alper Potuk comes in for Aminu Umar. This is right after our second goal. Brian Dabo on for Tyler Boyd. Eric Sabo on for Damian Djokovic. Serdar Sachi on for Domagoj Vida, who's out with a sort of looked like a concussion from having his head slammed into the ground vis-a-vis Joseph being shoved into him by Poyampalo on their goal. As if you needed injury to insult there. But yeah, sure enough, 68th minute. It was a free kick because it was from behind. Finds Poyampalo again. This time, Poyampalo gets a foot onto it, saved by Ersin, but sort of saved poorly. He knocks it right back into the path of Poyampalo, who's already on the ground. Sort of swings, hooks his foot around onto it, into the back of the net. Easy sort of dinker goal. Worth noting for anyone who's paying attention to this sort of thing, that number 22, who just entered the match, Emirhan Topçu, was offside on the free kick, and offside enough. Maybe it was a corner kick, man, I don't remember, whatever. Anyway, he was offside enough that it would have been called against us, because he would have been like interfering with play, or he would have fooled defenders into thinking he was the center of action. But somehow it's not noted against us, as these things tend to be. And another goal, 2-2. Poyampalo, this time another sort of mistake by Ersin, although at least it's not as notable of a mistake as the first one where he comes out when he shouldn't have. Although, to be fair, on review again, Joseph being shoved into them all didn't help. If you hear my cats skidding around and fighting here, my apologies, couldn't stop them there. But anyhow, moving things along, not a lot of action after that goal. Substitutions, yellow card, 78th minute, Montero gets himself a yellow card, and Fabricio gets himself one as well. 82nd minute, a sub, Gökhan Töre enters the match for Guben Yalçın, who has, I think, definitely fallen off, to be fair. 84th minute, Deniz Humet comes in for Fabricio. 86th minute, Gökhan Gönül with a sloppy tackle injures Umut Meraş, clearly just cutting his foot out, kicking both of his feet, twisting his ankle in the process. Looked pretty bad. He needed crutches to leave the stadium afterwards. On top of that, so Montero goes to pick up the ball to sort of progress play as best he can. Gökhan Gönül sort of snatches at it. Montero sort of lightly pushes him, and then Sabo, their dude. Who is Sabo? Who has that nickname for them? I still don't know. This guy, Eric Sabo, 30-year-old Slovakian, who had been subbed on. He comes in, and he, like right after the Gökhan Gönül and Montero sort of light interaction, Sabo comes charging in, sort of shoves Montero really hard, and like riling him up incredibly. And then additionally, Boldrin comes in and shoves him as well. There's all kinds of a tussle in this sort of exchange. Montero gets his second yellow card for it. Gökhan Gönül as well, obviously. Although it could have been a straight red, honestly, like if we're going to be 100% honest. Aminu Umar gets a yellow for the argument. Fernando Boldrin gets a yellow card as well at the end. Nothing for Sabo at all. Montero's out, so he'll be out for the next match as well. Worth noting, he's been playing really well for us, so that's unfortunate. Joseph gets really mad at him for getting himself carded out of the match. Then Rosier comes out to defend Montero because I think he saw not only that Gökhan Gönül basically started it, but then also that Sabo came charging in and really sort of exacerbated the situation. Exacerbated, rather. And so Valentin Rosier kind of defends Montero, and Joseph gets mad at him too. So, I mean, at the end, everyone smiled and took pictures together, and it's all water under the bridge. Obviously, the heat of the moment stuff. Still, though, terrible, especially for it to be Gökhan Gönül, a guy who I've always respected as a player, a former player of ours especially. Anyway, 89th minute, Rıdvan Yılmaz comes on for Umut Meraş, who's injured, as I said. Emirhan Topçu enters for Joel Koyanpalo. Emirhan Topçu is the guy who I thought was offsides for their goal. Apparently it was not number 22, or somebody else has that number. I wonder who it was that was offsides on their goal. Guess it doesn't really matter. Anyway, end of the day, the game ends with a draw. Quite disappointingly, and mostly just because, I mean, obviously, Rize is a poor team who you want to get 3 points against. We're Beşiktaş, etc., etc. But frankly, it's a game I think everyone will feel that we deserve points from. We didn't dominate possession. They actually had most of it, 52% to 48%. I mean, it was pretty close. But that's also because they're behind much of this match, trying to come back. But despite that, with our sort of weird 5-3-2 or 3-5-2 formation, we had a ton of chances, and we were dominant. Like, we really deserved to win this match. It's not even questionable. And I think, I saw a lot of people questioning the tactics, the coaching, which, to be fair, like, even Ünder Karavelli was out with COVID, not to mention 9 guys. But yeah, we had 22 shots. They only had 10. 17 chances created. They had 7. We had 6 big chances created to their 3. So they had 3 big chances, 2 goals. We had 6 big chances and 2 goals, which says everything about the sort of impotence in attack, which clearly was our big problem. Mishi Ba Chuwai would probably say himself that I think he very clearly should have done better. They completed 281 passes to our 251 at a 75% rate to our only 72% rate. So a very poor day of passing, but again, new tactics, lots of guys out. No surprises there. What I think is surprising is how honestly dominant we were and how much we, I think, very clearly deserved to win this match. Now, individual performances. The top performer, Joel Koyanpalo, naturally 2 goals scored. Second best performer, Emirhan İlkan, which shouldn't surprise anyone, a goal scored in a fantastic match. He's my man of the match. I'll just say that outright. Next up, Mishi Ba Chuwai, who everyone will criticize, but I mean, he did a lot of intangible things, and if we win this match, and he has the goal, right, the penalty, I think a lot of people will say, oh, he contributes those intangibles, but because we're not getting the results, because we're not scoring goals, which isn't a big part him, right? He's got to take the blame for that. I mean, that's why I'm sort of ambivalent. He does a lot of things well, but the one thing he doesn't do well is the one thing he's supposed to do. But whatever. Güven Yalçın was the next up. Then Gökhan Akan, not a surprise to anyone probably. Fernando Boldrin, Cemali Sertel, Wellington, and then Fabricio Baiano is the last dude above 7. He's at exactly 7. Joseph de Souza 6.99, Necip 6.95. So just under the line there, but let's talk about Emirhan's stats, shall we? 90 minutes played, a goal, 4 shots, 2 off-target on, 16 accurate passes, and a 70% rate, which in and of itself is not great, but he tried 7 crosses, completing 2 of them, so that, adds to the sort of lack of accuracy on his passes. 3 long balls, none of them accurate, so whatever. But he did have 4 key passes in addition to his goal. 5 recoveries. He was active. He had 48 touches. Could have been more in theory, but I think given again that we were I don't even know. How do you describe this match? We didn't hold the ball a ton. Although we were quite aggressive in attack and very, like, I don't know if we were playing on the counter necessarily, but I mean, I'll be honest, I thought we looked good. I think the fact that we created so many chances underlies that fact, and really a few of those chances go in, and we're praising the tactic, and there are so many chances that could have gone in. I don't, it's a shame. Quickly, I'll go over Ba Chuwai's stats. He did have a goal, which contributes, but 10 shots. 10 shots. 3 off target, 4 on target, 3 blocked. 16 accurate passes at a 64% rate, which isn't great, but it did create a chance. His passes, 2 accurate long balls, 2 of 2. So, his passes were just in dangerous positions and didn't quite come off, but he had 56 touches, which is worth noting, and 6 recoveries, no less. So, he was active and involved and present and giving it his all. That's one thing one could never criticize, is him not giving it his all. He's clearly out there trying to score as best he can and just, not quite pulling it off, if we're going to be 100% honest about it. But, yeah, it is what it is. My man of the match, clearly Emirhan İlkan, whose debut, not competitively, but in the Super League, couldn't have been much better. I mean, I guess it could have. He could have scored another one, perhaps. Sealed the win, which is what he said. So he said the right things, too, in addition to having a great Super League debut. So, anyway, that is what it is. That's our episode that is our talk of this match. And I'll leave it at that. Now, next up, we're hosting Gaziantep. Gaziantep is a side that's actually in very good form. They are undefeated in their last 6 matches. They beat Fener on December 13th, drew Kayseri on the road, beat Alanya at home, beat Rize on the road, I mentioned that earlier, drew Bursa in the cup, and then beat Fatih Karagümrük at home just this last match day on Saturday. So they're in actually really good form, despite not being, particularly well placed. I shouldn't say that. They're actually in 6th place, which is ahead of us at the moment. And that's a good segue, perhaps, to the standings, which I should go into, I suppose. Fener and Adana Demirspor will play tomorrow. They have not played yet, so that's to be determined. But in first place, Trabzon with 49 points. Second place, Konya with 39 points. They gained points on them this week. Third place, Başakşehir with 34 points. 5 points behind Konya now. Fourth place, Fener with 32 points. They could have 35 if they beat Adana Demir tomorrow. Or later today, perhaps by now. And if that does occur, then Fener will go up into 3rd place. It doesn't amount to much, honestly, although they will be just 4 points behind Konya. In 5th place is Hatay with 32 points. In 6th, I mentioned Gaziantep, 31. 7th, Adana Demirspor with 30 points. Should they beat Fener, they could have 33 points and they'll move up into 4th. They'll surpass Fener if that is to occur. If those two sides draw, Fener will stay in 4th. Adana Demir will actually probably stay in 7th. Oh no, they'll move into 6th over Gaziantep on goal differential. I don't know about their head-to-head. 8th place, Rizespor with 29 points, tied with us on 29 points. We have 29. Alanya has 29. Then below us, 3 teams have 27 points. Kayseri, Fatih Karagümrük, and Galatasaray. We're in 12th, so I guess that's the things could always be worse side. We're 2 points ahead of Galatasaray, at least, who lost this week to Giresunspor, which not particularly impressive stuff from them, obviously. But so yeah, we will of course be back to talk about the match against Gaziantep. It's on Friday, January 14th, noon here in New York City. So check your local listing. It's a little bit later than this last match, an hour later to be specific. But yeah, so with that said, we're out. We're done. We got nothing more to say here, except I hope we'll have more players available to us. And I hope that everyone recovers from COVID just fine. especially Untitled Chapter, right, who is a little bit older. And besides that, follow us on Twitter, right, at Eagles_podcast. Follow myself at Sir_Writes_a lot. Follow us on Instagram, Black Eagles Podcast, one word. And of course, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everyone. We can do this still. I mean, do what? I'm not sure, but surely we can do something, right? 20 points behind Trebling, so let's give it the old college try. We are 10 points behind Konyaspor. You're in second place now. So even that looking somewhat weird. That said, we're only 5 points out of third place. Beşiktaş here. Let's not count on that, I suppose. With that said, we got to keep that again.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.